Aubrey, thank you for
Yes.
first of all for joining me. The film is fantastic. I saw it last night, had quite unique dreams, and then saw it again this morning. And I caught this vibe of like Mulholland Drive a little bit for me. But
Totally.
I love this movie. Mulholland Drive is one of my favorite movies. But
Me
first question,
too.
awesome. First question I have for you is what attracted you to this project and Lawrence, working with Lawrence in general?
Well, Lawrence, who I will call Larry, um, I refuse to call him Lawrence. Larry and I met, we met in a hot tub at a party, and I thought he was a goofy guy. And I was friends with his wife, and I was a really big fan of a movie they had made called Always Shine
Mhm.
together, which his wife directed and Larry wrote. And we were just friends. And then we got cast as a couple in a Netflix show called Easy. So we spent 5 days shooting this comedy together, and we got to know each other. And I think it was very apparent to me that we were on the same page about filmmaking and approach to acting and making movies. So like we really hit it off in that way. And we had a lot of kind of deep discussions about, what it's like to be in a relationship with someone that you're also making a movie with, which can be really complicated. And we both are in relationships with filmmakers, so we really had a lot to talk about. And Larry, after we spent that week together, a couple months later, wrote the script for me, and he kind of called me up and just said, "I wrote this for you. I'd like you to read it and let me know what you think, and I want to do it." And I was not expecting what he wrote, but I was just totally blown away by the script. And I just thought it was one of the most unique things I'd ever read. And I thought that the character that he wrote for me was just so complex, almost like two or three characters in one, which is just, for an actor, it's just a dream because there's just so much to dive into. And so I was equally terrified and excited about it when I first read it.
That's one thing I loved about this is that the layers and depth that you have with this character Allison, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal seeing you definitely in part one, and then that transition that we have in part two, amazing. The
Thank
collaboration
you.
process with, well, I'll say Larry for the sake of not calling him Lawrence, but Larry, how did he help inform that character of Allison and actually all the other characters too? Because from what he told me is that the first part came from a dream of his, and the second part
Hmm.
almost came from like a story that he had before. So how did he help inform the character of Allison when you were on set?
Um, I mean, because Larry's an actor too, I think he was so good at he was so good at directing us for our performances. That's kind of his real strength. Getting us to certain places and communicating to us kind of like what he wants us to do and where he wants us to go. But I would say that I did a lot of work on my own with Allison. I have my own kind of process that I go through when I work on a movie. Um, and I just kind of allowed myself to adopt some different approaches with this movie, mainly because of the kind of dreamlike imagery. And I felt like this was an opportunity for me to explore some different approaches, more abstract approaches to acting. And I kind of, like Larry, even though we didn't have the outright discussions about it, we kind of both, I think, were kind of on the same trip. Like we were, but we weren't talking about it so much. Like Larry he didn't want to over discuss anything. We didn't rehearse or anything like
Now,
that.
now,
So I kind of just brought my stuff to the table.
now each character is kind of wrestling with their own inner demons. What is Allison kind of struggling with when we meet her?
Um, in the first half,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, you don't really know. You don't really know. I mean, it's very clear that that something has happened to her that is possibly traumatic. Some would say that one interpretation of the movie is that the second half has happened before the first, and that the second half was something that happened in the past, and the first half is something happening in the future. But it could also not be, and it could also be the other way around. But I don't have a specific answer for, you know, what is going on with her. I mean, I had my own ideas when I was shooting, but I think it's really just that she's been through some trauma. She's had some, you know, relationship issues, and she's struggling with her kind of creative identity, and she's on an exploration of sorts to kind of get inspired. And it's that feeling when you're a writer, you have writer's block, and you're willing to kind of like go to any length to get something going.
Now, I want to talk about your co-stars for a second, Chris and Sarah, who are phenomenal. And the chemistry
Yeah.
that you have with them is amazing. What did they bring to the role of Blair and Gabe that may have not necessarily been on the page?
Well, first of all, they're both just incredible actors. And they were the two people that Larry and I wanted from the beginning. I've wanted to work with both of them for a long time. And so besides just a professionalism and a true grasp on the just craft of acting, they both infuse their own take on these characters. And I think the duality of the film allowed them also to kind of do two separate characters like me. Um, and yeah, like it's funny that you mentioned Mulholland Drive, because I said that to Sarah when we were shooting. I looked at her at one point and I just said, like, you look like you're reminding me of Naomi Watts
Yeah.
in Mulholland Drive. Like, it feel like there's something that feels like that. It feels like this weird fever dream. And I think she's just so enigmatic, and she's actually way sillier than I think people know about her. So I think she really like allowed herself to kind of get a little messy and get a little loose, you know, because I see her as like a very type A kind of person that's very put together. And I think that she really kind of allowed herself to like strip that down and just kind of um, get a little rough around the edges. And then Christopher is just, I mean, to me, he's like a young Robert De Niro. He's so present. And I think he, especially in the second half, I think he clearly brought a lot of his own experiences that he's had with directors. I think he was working through some issues there, kind of, you know. I think he also was observing Larry, watching Larry, you know, and in a lot of ways he was playing Larry in the second half. So there was a lot of life imitating art, imitating life. I mean, he was even wearing Larry's actual jacket in the second half.
Okay.
So yes, and Larry didn't know that he was going to do that. So there were a lot of moments like that where you're like, oh my God, he just said to me on camera what Larry just said to me 5 minutes ago. So both of them were just ready to go. I mean, they brought their A game, and it was just like totally insane.
That's so fascinating because there's a line in the movie about playing with the actors to get them where they need to be. And it seems like you said, life imitating art. Something else, because I watched the film last night and I watched it again this morning. And one thing I noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the second part, is your character, Allison, wearing Blair's clothes?
Yes,
Is that right?
that is right. Yes. And vice versa. Sarah's wearing Allison's clothes in the second half as well. If you notice, she's wearing the jeans and the button-down shirt when we're shooting the movie within the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Amazing.
there's a lot of things like that that are just like, you know, just weird little nuggets. And it really adds to that like dream-like kind of thing.
So everybody's going to get something different out of this because I love that dreamlike element to the film. Like I said, Mulholland Drive is one of my favorite films. I like the surrealism in it.
Yeah.
To you, what does the black bear represent?
Well, I won't say specifically what it represents, but in a more like kind of general way, for me, the black bear is the truth in a way. It's kind of the this moment of truth that maybe you've been dreading for so long that you're finally confronted with. And I think for me, that really resonated. Just the idea, it's like, you know, something that's been brewing for a while that you're scared of, that you don't want to deal with, you know, it's kind of it's kind of like your unconscious mind finally winning over your conscious mind moment. So the black bear to me is kind of like, is really the truth, is confronting the truth, however gnarly and scary that is.
Well, look, phenomenal job on this film. I can't wait for everyone to see it because it's one of my favorite of the year. So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Aubrey. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.